This is fucking ridiculous. Oh shit. Okay, am I back? Oh, it's okay. Everything's back? What the hell? Um where are Ryan and Bluesif then? Well that okay. Oh god. uh Welcome to the Donnie Week podcast. Well, no, we're not going to restart the stream. The stream can stay live. We're just going to have to go into a different room, which will bring these two back. So just stand by with us for 1 second, 1 minute, which was this is kind of funny because before we started going live this evening, we were talking and Ryan was telling us how he couldn't get Audacity to load on his computer, which is basically our backups and stuff. So if something happens with the stream, we have our backup to fall back on. Well, now this happened, and there you go. So give me a second. We're going to head and copy this, and I will get everything up and working here shortly.
Twitter chat, new Zencaster room.
I have no idea what the hell happened.
Yeah, it was funny because both me and Blue could see you in the room.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking to you, right? You couldn't see us or hear us, right? And so I'm sitting there like trying to get your attention to see if it would be like, oh, you're on mute, you know? I can't hear you. And then I did like a you know, like take care of the grandchildren.
Yep.
We are live, by the way. So the stream.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware.
Show them exactly how, the technique that you used.
And honestly, it was I mean, I'm fine with letting people know I take care of the grandchildren.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, I apologize. And I was just telling them the story about how Ryan said he couldn't get Audacity to load. And we're like crossing our fingers. Nothing happens to Zencaster. Well, there you go.
This is going to be so much fun to patch together later. I'm so excited.
Well, you should still have the tracks from the old Zencaster room, right?
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Both mine and Blue's are good to go.
Okay.
Donnie's, it's still loading right now.
Well, I have Audacity. I have my backup going. So
okay.
As long as we have that, it shouldn't be that bad. All I heard, like I just and both of you were frozen. I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh no, oh no. And then everything went out.
Yep. Yes, Audacity for the win. I love that program. Except when it decides not to work on the night that we needed it.
Right.
Anywho, let's go ahead and keep going with the show before something else happens.
So Blue, do you want to wrap up your choice for the week?
Yeah. So anyways, post-trauma looks like somebody just put a coat of paint on Silent Hill 2, and I'm here for it. It looks super fun. Can't wait to get in there and see what's going on. And then Claire Obscure Expedition 33. This game is getting phenomenal review scores, and people are saying it's one of the best RPGs of the entire year. And I really feel bad for both Claire Obscure and Post Trauma, because not only are they dealing with people who are trying to save money for a Switch 2 tonight, but then they also have been planning their release dates for years in advance, probably just to find out that Bethesda decides to shadow drop their remaster at the same week that both these studios are putting out what I believe are their first releases ever. I was like, that's just bad luck. There's no way around that. So Of these three, I would probably spend my money more to support the smaller studios, which means I'm going between Clair Obscur and Post Trauma, and probably of the two, leaning more towards Post Trauma.
Does anybody know what the price point is for Clair Obscura?
Not offhand.
Not off the top of my head.
$44.99 on Steam. So that
Gotta
game,
love those AA games.
absolutely, they're priced right there with the Oblivion remake. So, would you like a new game if it's groundbreaking, getting a lot of awards or honorable mentions for $45, or do you want to play a game that's janky and for the same price?
Charmingly janky.
Charming.
It's
Yeah.
a feature. It's a feature. What about you, Ryan?
I'll be honest with you. I think that these three, none of them really are my thing for the most part. Don't get me wrong. Clair Obscur looks gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Love turn-based.
He's evolving.
It's it's like very hack and slashy though, and like the story is a little weird. Like I just didn't spark joy for me when I watched the trailer. Let's put it that way.
TK85 says needs more J in that RPG for RGB.
It's true. I do love my
Probably.
JRPGs. Yes.
Not so JRPG that it's anime, because then he won't like it. We hate those, but
correct. It's very, very.
It's a very narrow definition of what he wants to play.
The right amount of J.
Everybody likes the right amount of J. All right. So, yeah, it's again gorgeous game. It just seems weird in that your villain is Lady Bob Ross, who's paint style. So,
Lady Bob Ross.
If Bob Ross killed you, I guess.
No, it's like the evil twin of Bob Ross, right?
What we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little dead body down here.
Just a happy little dead body.
Yeah. There are no murders, just happy accidents.
Happy manslaughters.
Yeah.
We're gonna beat the angel out of it. All right. Post Trauma, I think that is Donnie's bread and butter, and I'm looking forward to watching Donnie play it potentially on stream.
Okay.
I think that would be cool.
That'd be a great stream game.
Yeah. So all in for that. But for me personally, yeah, I'll pass. I'm not really big into puzzle horror games. Yeah, and I've never played Oblivion before. So right now I am knee deep in Lunar, the remaster for Lunar. So I will probably put a lot of time into that. So this might be something that I'll take a look at after I'm done finishing Lunar 1 and 2. If it's, do I want to buy it today? It's a no.
Gotcha.
So yeah, not really excited for many three of these.
Lame. I'll get them all just to make up for you.
You can do that. You're welcome to do that. You let me know how it goes.
You're an adult.
All right, before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of the people who lived it. Bill has sadly decided to step down as our show sponsor, so be sure to listen to his upcoming AMA episode where he discusses the future of his show. From all of us at Gamers Week, we want to sincerely thank Bill for all the years of support he has given us.
Thank you,
Next
Bill.
week, yes, thank you so much, Bill. Next week, we'll be introducing our new segment sponsor. But first, as a send-off for Bill, here's an excerpt from his episode 57, which aired on November 21st, 2022, when the three of us joined him for a live table read of the Nintendo Power Legend of Zelda comic book.
Who was Zelda?
You.
Was that me? Okay. I was like, somebody did a female voice. I can't remember if it was me or Ryan.
Yeah, nope, you were the best Zelda.
Oh.
And Ryan gave his best, like, I'm so hungry I could eat an octorok.
Right, like obnoxious Link.
Obnoxious Link, yep.
Yeah.
The doggos.
I just realized that was 2.5 years ago, and now, oh
Yeah.
my god, I can't believe that was 2.5 years ago.
It does not feel that long ago. It was so much
No.
fun. So yeah, if you're live in the chat, you might have to either check out the edited audio version on Friday to hear the excerpt, or better yet, I'll have a link to that episode in the show notes. You can just check out the whole thing.
Nice.
Very nice. Hey there, fellow kids. Spritz on that Polo Sport cologne. Make sure your wallet is changed to that belt loop. Secure the Discman to the dash and make sure your Honda CRX has gas, because where we're going to need it. This is the Retro Rewind for April 2001. So yeah, we're moving past the 90s. We're going back in. We're going into the time. We're dipping our toes into the 2000s because that's retro now too, right?
Oh god.
Yeah. For the love of God. Let's take a look at some of the top Billboard songs and their artists for this month. Coming in at number 1, All For You by Janet Jackson. Survivor by Destiny's Child. Angel by Shaggy. Girl, you're my angel. You're my darling. And Sugar. Thank You by Dido. Missing You by Case. Butterfly with Crazy Town. Or
Oh my god.
Crazy Town with Butterfly. Stutter, Joe featuring Mystical. And if you don't know who Mystical is, he does have one great song called Shake Your Ass.
Watch yourself.
Shake your ass.
Show me what you're looking for.
There you go.
Wow.
Get Over Yourself by Eden's Crush. Again by Lenny Kravitz. And Hanging by a Moment by Lifehouse. I don't really care too much for that song.
Hanging by a moment here with you.
Sam Disfaction says, damn, 24 years ago, I feel like yelling at a cloud all of a sudden. Yeah.
And I think I could pass on all 10 of those songs. Like,
I was going to say, that's kind of one of the things I remember most about the 2000s. The early 2000s is transitioning away from like 90s alternative into the 2000s, and the music, it felt like it just changed.
pop.
Just
Yeah.
like that. And I was just like, I hate all of this. Is this what it's like to be old?
Yep. And you weren't even old back then.
I wasn't. I was in college. I was like a freshman in college, a sophomore in college. I was like, God damn, I feel like I'm 87.
Let's take a look at what was hot at the theaters this month. We had Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Wow, the first one.
The first one. The very first one.
Wow.
Shrek. The very first Shrek. Monsters,
Makes
Inc.
a subtle reference to fellatio for the adults.
Shrek does?
Yeah. The
Explain.
Robin Hood character says,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
It's like when I like getting, and then it just cuts off. Yeah.
I guess what he's saying
Yeah.
is he likes to get paid. Break it down.
Yep.
Rush Hour 2. The Mummy Returns. Pearl Harbor. Hey, throwback to Michael Bay, who was also
Michael
in this
Bay.
episode. Jurassic Park 3. Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg. Say hi to your mother for me. Hannibal. And
Mm.
one of the first movies that I sat for about 3 hours in a movie theater for, Lords of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Great.
Such an
Yes.
epic movie.
Mhm.
Yes,
Oh.
dwarfing all of the rest of those movies. Although I really liked Hannibal, even though they completely changed the ending.
Hannibal was with yeah, that was when he starts off in Italy, correct? Like he's
Yeah.
in Rome. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
So what was perfect about Lord of the Rings is I didn't know it was coming out, but I was introduced to it, I think 2 summers before that. And I decided to read it again the following summer. So it was like 2 summers in a row of reading Lord of the Rings. And then they came out with the movie and I was like in heaven, absolute heaven.
How old
And
were
that's
you?
probably why I'm like a encyclopedia of Tolkien. 'Cause it just hit at the right moment.
Probably.
How old are you again?
About to turn 40.
So you're 16?
2001?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A sweet 16 encyclopedia of the Lord of the Rings, getting all the dates.
Well,
Still no
yeah.
bitches.
I can't believe that wasn't enough to get the bitches.
In the news this month, Stone Cold Steve Austin beats The Rock in a no disqualification match at WrestleMania 17. New York Yankees pitcher Roger Clemens becomes the AL all-time strikeout leader, recording his 3,509th save against the Kansas City Royals. Ichiro Suzuki becomes the first Japanese position player to play in a regular season MLB game. Tiger Woods wins his second Masters. And Fatboy Slim releases the music video for Weapon of Choice, directed by Spike Jonze and featuring none other than the man himself, Christopher Walken.
That's a great video.
Oh my God, so
To
good.
this day, it's a great video.
It is. I don't really care too much for Fatboy Slim, but that video is amazing with Christopher Walken doing the dance and then suspended in air and doing the dancing and all that stuff and all the sorts of things. Yes, great.
Who knew he was such a good dancer?
I know.
I know.
Right?
Is that at that moment Christopher Walken became hot?
At that moment?
At that moment,
Huh.
he was not hot before, at least for me. But at that moment, I was like,
At
you know
that-
what? Maybe.
I could comment on this, but I'm not going to. This is a family-friendly podcast. We have to save that for the Monday show. Hot at Blockbuster this month on the PlayStation 2, The Bouncer, Onimusha Warlords, Oni, Star Wars Starfighter, and ATV Off-Road Fury. There are people renting video games about ATVs? Really?
I was during the X Games craze kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was like anything to be alternative to normal sports, you know?
Extreme!
Yeah, it's got to be extreme. Yeah.
On the PlayStation 1, we had Driver 2, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, WWF SmackDown 2, Know Your Role, MTV Sports TJ Lavin Presents Ultimate BMX. Really? There's another one.
What?
And 007 Racing. I am today's years old when I realized that they had
Yeah.
a racing game for 007.
I missed out on that one.
Yeah. I'll have to go
mean,
and
I-
check that.
Dragon.
Is it just all Aston Martins, the entire thing?
And the different
Jay
villains
Dragon
from
says Tony Hawk to a.
Tony Hawk
Nice.
to it. On the N64 this month, Conker's Bad Fur Day,
Mm.
Paper Mario, The World Is Not Enough, Mario Tennis, and Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine.
Not
played
a
that one.
great follow-up to GoldenEye. The World Is Not Enough.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And last but not least, for the Dreamcast, yes, they were renting Dreamcast games. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, NBA 2K1, Shenmue, Crazy Taxi, and Jet Grind Radio.
Great
And
That's the best lineup.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not wrong. And I caught myself saying Tony Hawk's Prostrator, like prostator? Tony Hawk's Prostator 2? Is that what's going to happen whenever he gets like 80? He's going to release a game about his prostate?
Let's go.
With the proctology simulator peripheral.
Yes. Gloves not included. From the readers this month.
Comes with haptic feedback.
Oh, I can really feel that polyp. Cole McClelland writes in via the internet. I'm an avid game player who's into old school video games. I own a Super Nintendo, a Genesis, a Sega Master System, and Game Boy. You're
In
an amateur.
2001?
Yeah, you're an amateur.
Old school.
Yeah.
Right.
Old school.
I play all of these quite frequently, but lately something's been bothering me. My copy of Final Fantasy II for the SNES. You see what he did there?
He
Suddenly,
didn't know any better at the time.
shut your face.
He was on the internet. He should have.
Can't read
Mike-
Japanese.
My copy of Final Fantasy II suddenly stopped saving my games. Someone suggested that the battery in the game was dead. Soon after, one of my Genesis games, Warsong, stopped saving as well. This really confused me, as my oldest battery-backed game, Zelda, for the NES, still works fine. How long should a battery-backed game last? Are there ways to make them last longer? And just what do I do when my favorite game goes kaput? Sega and Nintendo offer full warranties, but neither produce any 16-bit or 8-bit games anymore. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated.
All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to go on eBay. The two things you're going to buy is a bit for your screwdriver so you can open up a game. The next thing you're going to buy is a battery. And the third thing you're going to do is go borrow your dad's soldering iron.
Are most of those batteries do they have to be soldered?
It depends on the game. Most of them,
Okay.
though, will be soldered, or at least to get them out. I believe they're soldered in.
I will say that I have not had to replace any batteries in any of my cartridge-based games as of yet. There could very well be a game on my shelf that I haven't touched that its battery is
Sure.
just dead and it won't save it. So I'm not looking forward to that.
Sanity says, plot twist, that was Donnie's letter he wrote back then.
So I had it fail on a Pokemon cart, which just so happened to be Pokemon Crystal. And
That's
the problem with
expensive one.
that is that it's a see-through cart.
Mhm.
And the batteries that they sell nowadays don't look the same as the old school ones. They have these like yellow ring around it.
Correct.
So it's real freaking obvious that you've replaced the battery. And there's some people out there that will not want to purchase a game if anything's been changed on it, right?
Mhm.
So it affects the value a little bit. It's like, why couldn't this have happened to one that is an opaque case and not a clear one? So you'd have to really investigate this to see that the battery was different.
Well, if you would have sold that and they opened it up and taken a look like, oh, you replaced the battery, like then you could have said, I had no idea, like
Right.
it wasn't mine, I bought it aftermarket, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. I can play
So just so you know, that the average lifespan for a battery in a cartridge game is only about 5 years, but obviously it all depends on how good the battery was when it was first installed and how much the game has been used since. When batteries are dead, they're dead. If anybody out there has solutions or workarounds, please send them in. Meanwhile, you might be interested to know that some Capcom coin-op boards suffer from the same battery problem, and if you try to change the battery on those, the boards self-destruct. What?
I doubt that.
I think we should test it.
So you want me to get a coin-op PCB board from Capcom?
And I want to see if it explodes, because if it self-destructs, like I want it to be dramatic. I want there to be flames and smoke.
And for us to die along with that? Like, I mean, as long as it's
smile
on
on her
stream, right?
Yeah.
It's like, just do it for the content. We got to have content.
If your camera is running.
Do you want us to die?
Man, we'll go
She's like,
viral. This will be awesome.
Yep.
Moving on to the games released this month, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec for the PS2, Batman Chaos in Gotham for the Game Boy Color, Batman Gotham City Racer for the PS1, Disney's 102 Dalmatians Puppies to the Rescue for the Dreamcast, Game Boy Color, and PlayStation 1. Ooh. Dr. Mario 64 for the N64, Kirby Tilt and Tumble for the Game Boy Color, Power Rangers Time Force for the Game Boy Color, Star Wars Super Bombad Racing for PS2, and The Simpsons Wrestling for PS1. I've never heard of Super Bombad Racing.
Yeah, me neither.
This is kind of a dire month.
April was not the greatest month.
Yeah.
For video game releases in 2001. Moving on to the news. Sega, the dream is over.
Oh.
Sega halts Dreamcast production, drops price, says it will develop games for the PlayStation 2, Game Boy Advance, and Xbox. Pour one out. In a late January move that stalwart Sega fans lamented, but financial investors cheered, Sega officially announced that it would cease production of its 128-bit Dreamcast and drop the console's price to $99.95, leaving the company to recreate itself as a platform-agnostic third-party publisher for consoles manufactured by Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft.
Satisfaction, you are right. Sega is making a comeback.
They are, and I'm just waiting for the news to drop any day now, and I've been waiting patiently for so long.
24 years later. You know, I bet there were people out there who cried.
I know I did.
The Sega diehards. I bet they cried.
Not just the diehards, but the people that were there for the video game console wars back in the 90s when it was mainly just Nintendo and Sega. battling it out with their epic commercials and digs back and forth at each other. And then we lost that. It stopped. It wasn't there anymore. So yeah, pour one out. They always say you make money on the blades, not the razors, said Sega president and COO Peter Moore in a telephone press conference. Right now, our games are the sharpest razors we have. Among the games confirmed as slicing onto the PlayStation 2 are Virtua Fighter 4, a new Space Channel 5 game, Sakura Wars, a popular Japanese simulation series, and 2 entries in the Let's Make a Sport series in Japan. Meanwhile, Nintendo's Game Boy Advance will receive handheld versions of Sonic the Hedgehog, Choo Choo Rocket, and Puyo Puyo. The games for both systems should appear between August and November of this year, and Sega is also in negotiations to bring Sega games to Nintendo's GameCube and Microsoft's Xbox, but the arrangements have not been finalized. Everybody in the industry agrees that it's the games that matter, said Moore. Content is Sega's strength. The opportunity is there for Sega. The future is a bright one for Sega, concluded Moore. This announcement will allow us to become a profitable company quickly. Sega will become a profitable company quickly by playing to its primary strength, game content. And that is a game we know how to win.
I don't know, because those titles sound more like a safety razor, if I'm being honest.
The one for the nether region, which you know it's not going to cut. It's not going to cut you.
It's not going to do the job either, but...
No, you're not wrong, but those were popular titles for Sega. And I would kind of argue this. If the games were so popular, don't you think they would have been enough to keep them afloat as a console maker, even if they were losing a little bit of money on the console, which I don't know if they were. I don't know the specifics about the Dreamcast back then. But if the games were popular enough, and if you had a lot of them, then that kind of contradicts the statement as to why the Dreamcast, the actual console, failed.
It would be really interesting to go back in time. Like if you know those questions where like if you could go back in time and change one thing.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time and save Sega from itself and actually run the company well and have a good business plan for the consoles, it would be interesting to see whether it could keep itself afloat as a console maker. I still don't think those titles are going to be enough, but
I think the problem isn't when the Dreamcast came out. I think the Dreamcast was the last dying breath, a good one, of a company that had made a lot of mistakes up until that point. I really think that started when they wanted to expand into CD-ROM technology and went with the Mega Sega CD, right, which became an add-on. So essentially, it was an accessory. Rather than holding on to it, making some solid games for the Genesis, and then creating a different console, which is what pretty much everybody else did and was successful with that. Instead, they made 2 peripherals for the Genesis, right? So you had to own a Genesis. You had to, in order to play the Sega CD or the 32X. And if you wanted to play 32X CD games, you had to have both.
Yeah.
That's a big investment. And especially if we're talking about in the US, when we look at the 32X, when it came out, right? 6 months later is when they announced that the Saturn was coming out in Japan. Why would anybody buy a 32X at that point? Exactly. And then why would anybody trust Sega from the North American market to? Because I mean, think about if you threw down $200 on a 32X and you found out that there's only going to be 30 games ever made for the fucking thing, I'd be pretty pissed.
Especially when you knew that the Dreamcast, but the Saturn was coming out that rivaled what they had on the PlayStation 1. And since the PlayStation 1 had been out for several years ahead of time, you had the chance to kind of refine and beef up this system to make it a little bit better than the PlayStation 1. So yeah, don't stick to the old with the 32X and try to keep that system afloat. It had its time. It had a huge library of games to play. So that, I think, might have been the actual bullet in the foot that did Sega in with that particular move.
I think one thing that could have saved it for the Dreamcast is to add a DVD player, not an HDR or whatever heck. Add a DVD player straight out of the box. PlayStation 2 did it, and that's why a lot of people bought a PlayStation 2. I don't know how many people I knew never played a game on that thing and just used it as a DVD player.
And I remember whenever they had the PS3 came out. It was either get it for the Blu-ray or you go with the Xbox 360 for the high definition HD DVD. And nobody was like, nope, not doing that because Blu-ray. Everybody saw the Blu-ray was the best part.
And I mean, if you even want to go further than that, add the modem to the Dreamcast in the box.
Mm-hmm.
There were games that were
even if you do all that.
Well, the thing is, the competition that they had was the PlayStation. But this came out, if I remember right, didn't the Dreamcast come out 2 years before the PS2?
Yeah, 1999.
You could have owned that marketplace and made your money back before the PlayStation 2 came out.
Yeah, but if to do that, you would have had to seen the future to know what PlayStation was going to do.
Well, they were working on it, right? Including a DVD player, and they scrapped it. They were also working on including modem within it. They scrapped it and made it an external peripheral that you could buy, right? So they knew that this was a viable option. They just chose to go the cheaper route, which sucks. And the Saturn did not do well in the US and did so well in Japan. Like nobody cared as much. But the Dreamcast is such a nice, it's a cool system. I love it. It's got a lot of really, really great games on it. I just think it got overlooked.
Frankie says, I wish we got the Sega Uranus. All right, kids, thanks for hanging out with me this evening. I got to get back. Apparently, I need to stock up on my enhancement pills before this tariff war makes their prices more erect than my... Well, you get the idea. This concludes our Retro Rewind for this month. If there's anything you'd like to see in the Retro Rewind segment, please let me know. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter or Blue Sky.
All right. Well, I think we're still getting some freezing and such.
Yep.
And lagging. So let's go ahead and wrap up this dumpster fire of a show.
Sorry.
Thank you all for listening and sticking around to episode 162 of Gamers Week Podcast. And a big thank you to the Retro Game Club podcast, Love Retro BTW, A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast, and Pixel Palm Production Company for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/GamersWeekPodcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. Finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. 1 hour to go, kids, until the pre-orders. So may the odds be ever in your favor if you're going for a Switch 2.
Love that you chose to reference something that talks about murder.
Do you think that this is not our reality of Hunger Games every time a console releases?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
What were the prerequisites to be able to get a pre-order from Nintendo?
You had to play like 50 hours of online or something
Minimum.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Minimum 50 hours of the online service. You had to subscribe to the Nintendo Switch Online for at least a year, and you had to have agreed to share your gameplay with Nintendo, which is the part I'm not sure about. I don't remember opting in or out to that ever. So I have no idea about that part. But apparently more than 2 million people signed up in Japan alone, and Nintendo says mysteriously that they didn't expect that many people to be interested and couldn't possibly fulfill all those orders. So
sorry.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's boding well for us over here.
Do you have that link
to sign up?
Yeah. Or am I too late? Am I too late to sign up, man?
I have no idea.
Redox, if you're still listening, send Donnie the link.
Well, it's funny that you say that because we're going to go ahead and raid Pixel Bomb Productions, and they are actually playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. So it's probably, I think it's the new remastered one. So if you love jank, if you love Pixel Bomb Productions, go ahead and hang out with them for a little bit tonight. We're going to go ahead and raid them. Yeah, it's all better now. The stream's all better, and we're ending. How about timing?
Right.
That's great.
But Sanity says, I love staying warm with this dumpster fire. Oh, it just warms the cockles.
Keeps those cockles all warm for you. All right, guys. Have a good night. Take care. We'll see you next week. Bye.
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 And